Hallo und herzlich willkommen zu einer weiteren Episode Danganronpa und wir sind mitten in der Verhandlung.
He was killed in the repository. So he must have been killed not long after transporting Taka's body.
Also ja, wir sind gerade am Fall dran, ne? Und es ging darum, ne, wer wen gekillt hat, zu welcher Zeit.
He must have been killed after Taka's body vanished, but before we found both bodies in the repository.
During that time, we'd all split up and were searching for Taka's missing body. In other words, during that time, none of us have alibis.
Wait, but me and Sakura were together. Stop trying to steal the spotlight, you stupid walrus. Who are you calling a walrus?
Anyway, when they were killed bothers me too. But there's something that's been bothering me even more.
And what might that be?
The weapon they used to kill Hifumi.
The weapon?
Yeah, because I mean, according to the Monokuma file, the way Taka and Hifumi were killed was almost the same, with them having similar fractures and all. But Justice Hammer 3 and 4 were still laying around in the nurse's office and equipment room, right? So if Hifumi was killed in the repository, the culprit would have had to grab one of the hammers, kill Hifumi, then put the hammer back where they found it. But
No, that's
wouldn't
wrong.
that be serious?
I'm surprised. It seems there's some semblance of a brain knocking around that skull of yours after all.
Hell yeah, it's packed in there good and tight.
He's right, though. I don't understand it either. The Monokuma file makes it clear that they were killed using similar instruments. But if the hammers were already laying around those other rooms...
So the question is, how could the culprit have gotten personally? So which hammer was used to attack Celeste? Number 1 or number 2?
Those were accounted for in other rooms too. And I don't think either one is big enough to kill someone.
Then...
Is it not possible they used a different weapon?
I don't think it is possible. They were both killed with the same kind of thing.
Kann man nicht
right?
endlich mal diesen Beweis
So then,
hergeben?
what was used to kill Hifumi?
The weapon that's actually used to kill Hifumi. The whole picture surrounding this case won't be clear and if I got that out. To find the truth. Lass mich doch einfach das Item zeigen. Wir lassen diesmal alles erstmal durchlaufen, ja?
What was used to kill Hifumi?
Spotless Hammer.
Was it Justice Hammer 3? Maybe Justice Hammer 4?
Well, whatever it was, there's one thing we have to figure out. How was the culprit able to move around so freely with the weapon? How did nobody witness them carrying it? Sounds like a Justice Hammer 5 is about to make its appearance! Check out murdergear.com/hammertime for more info!
What the fuck?
Well, everything seems pretty clear.
Ich guck mal nach, ob es das echt
Weapon
gibt.
had to be one of the Justice Hammers.
No, that's wrong! Ich hab's immer noch nicht bis zum Ende geschaut diesmal. Okay, doch, hab ich. Es war ja das letzte.
The murder weapon wasn't a justice hammer at all. No, it was something completely different.
But seriously? A different weapon?
Specifically, a hammer from the repository. But now, all the hammers in the repository were covered in flecks of grit and debris. And for some reason, one of them had been scrubbed clean.
Huh?
And the reason it had been scrubbed clean was most likely because it was used to commit murder. If the hammer got covered in Hifumi's blood, of course they'd have to clean it off. I'd also like to point out that the repository has all kinds of hammers. Big ones, small ones, and even some flat mallet-like ones. I think whoever made the Justice Hammers used those as a basis for their design.
If that's true, that would explain the Monokuma file's note about the wounds being similar.
So Hifumi moved Taka's body to the repository, where someone then used a hammer to kill him.
Whoever did that is the true killer. The one Hifumi was working with. And the one who betrayed him. Hold on a moment. I still think it's strange to assume someone was working together with him. The way the graduation rule works, there is no benefit to helping someone else carry out a murder. So the idea that anyone would work together like that is simply ludicrous. We talked about this, did we not?
We did talk about how there wouldn't be any reason for anyone to work together. At least that's what we thought at first, but... Okay, ich werde ein Argument gegen die verwenden müssen.
Based on the rules, the that have been laid out for us, even if more than one person is complicit in the murder, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate and survive. Assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible that two people work together on this.
That is how the rule was explained to us.
But that only really applies if there's one murder, right? In this case, however, there were two murders.
Can't really say there's no chance. Nein.
Based on the rule, even if more than one, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate. Assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible that two people work together on this.
That is how the rule was explained to us.
But that only really applies if there's one murder, right? In this case, however, there were two murders.
Can we really say there's no chance to assign skip two murders?
Have been laid out for
Okay.
us, even if more than one person is complicit in the murder, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate and survive. Assuming the rule holds true, it
Oh mein Gott, ich hab's komplett gecheckt, Leute. Wenn es zwei Mörder gibt.
Since there were two murders, it's at least plausible that more than one person was involved.
What do you mean?
If there'd only been one murder, then yes, the idea of an accomplice isn't really worth considering. Naturally, if only one person can be saved per murder, an accomplice has no risk versus reward benefit.
Risk versus reward benefit?
The payoff for working together. The reward that balances out the risk of taking part in a scheme. There's no point in being someone's accomplice if there's no benefit to you. However, if there were some potential mutual reward for the risk, then cooperation becomes possible.
You're saying that two people could act as each other's accomplices to commit two separate murders.
I think that's what the true killer told Hifumi. They would each have an accomplice for their crime, and based on the case's events, Hifumi would have been the first one to act, murdering Taka. They made him carry out the first murder so he couldn't back out of helping them later on.
So in this case, there wasn't one single person committing multiple murders. Instead, each person killed someone, creating two separate incidents. And it only looked like one person because that's how the true killer designed it to look. A single suspicious individual, a similar weapon used in each crime, disappearing bodies. By creating one seamless set of circumstances, they made it look like one person was behind it all.
The mastermind picked their target and managed to convince him to go along with their plan. And then, to avoid the no accomplices rule, they simply killed their accomplice. Which, if true, means that betraying Hifumi was part of the plan from the very beginning.
That's just awful! How could anyone be so cruel?
You think so? I can't help but admire its cunning. Still, their choice of accomplice seems odd.
The effort to convince us the two murders were the same. That was the main characteristic this time. Kyoko must have noticed the fact from the very beginning, which is why she said not to look at this as a series of connected events but entirely separate incidents. When you think about it, she is almost too amazing, like it's almost unnatural how good she is at this.
I understand how an accomplice could be involved, but then who was the one pulling Hifumi's strings?
That's problem numero uno right now!
The true killer manipulated Yumi to carry out a number of actions in India and murdered him. In the debates up until now, the way the case has unfolded, when considered all, there's only one person who seems to fit. Oh mein Gott! Plot twist! Okay. Hi.
Here's my answer. It was Celeste.
Ah, so I'm the suspicious individual now, am I? I really do hate this kind of joke.
A joke? I wonder.
So what you are saying, then, is that I specifically chose to work together with Hifumi. The idea that I would choose to spend any amount of time interacting with him, that I would go within 10 feet of that shit, brain-fat, lazy, worthless, goddamn idiot! Pardonnez-moi.
just to be clear, there is evidence to support it.
Is that so?
It is. Throughout the investigation, there was certain behavior that was common only to the two of you. Considering what we've learned so far, it only further proves that the two of you were working together.
What is that only Hifumi had in common? Die Nachricht in Hifumis Pants.
The behavior they had in common has to do with the suspicious individual in the suit. Doesn't the only ones who ever actually saw Robo-Justice firsthand were Celeste and Hifumi?
Shush, the adults are talking now.
Sorry.
As he said, only Celeste and Hifumi ever laid eyes on the costumed individual. If we accept that Hifumi was one of the culprits, we can't help but suspect what Celeste has said as well.
Are you saying everything they told us was a lie?
After taking Hifumi to the nurse's office, we all began our search for this individual, correct? And not too long after that, do you remember what Celeste said?
Something moving around on top of the stairs, yeah.
We headed to the second floor specifically because of what she claimed to have seen. Next, to draw us all to the physics lab up on the third floor,
She let out a blood-curdling scream.
and when we'd all come to see what was wrong, what was it she said?
What's wrong? What a rather intense scream. I saw him, the strange costumed man. He ran off as soon as I screamed.
Once she'd done her job of getting us all up to the physics lab, it was time for her partner to get to work.
It was to get us to divide into two groups. So that we would discover both bodies at the same time?
In fact, Celeste was precisely the one who proposed that we split up.
Then why don't we split up into two groups? Okay.
Well, if Celeste and Hifumi were working together, all those chance events suddenly become connected. And on top of that, that piercing cry of yours early on. That was to signal Hifumi, wasn't it? It was your way of telling him, we're on the third floor, everything's going according to plan. Why else would you let out a scream that could have carried across the sea?
I just realized another strange thing. When we found Hifumi in the nurse's office, who we now know was only pretending.
I certainly was not expecting this. I did not imagine that Hifumi would be murdered.
Celeste, you were the first one to say he'd been murdered. You wanted to make sure we wouldn't have any doubt in our minds.
I don't believe it. Everything. The whole thing was one big act.
Hina, you were with Celeste when Hifumi's body disappeared, right?
Yeah. I was feeling kinda sick, so Celeste took me to the bathroom. Wait! Then that was...
She wasn't worried about you. She just saw a chance to help Hifumi sneak out of the nurse's office.
Each piece isn't much by itself, but start putting them together and the picture gets very ugly indeed. Wouldn't you agree, Celeste?
I have no idea what you mean.
Don't bother trying to deny it. You made one fatal mistake.
Oh, did I?
I didn't even catch it myself when you first said it, but looking back, I can say that that one little slip-up was your undoing. I'm talking about what you said after Hifumi's body disappeared and we returned to the nurse's office.
Dass der Mörder so viel Spaß dabei hatte. Das hatte ich tatsächlich in dem Video gesagt, so Dalukat-Style, der muss be enjoying the sight of us standing around frightened and confused. We're going to die here. We are going to die just like those guys died. Wait. Those guys?
I remember her saying that too, but I don't understand what's so strange about it.
Hatte sie da das schon gefunden?
Attention. Sakura, Toko, and I were first to discover Taka's body in the equipment room. Then Makoto showed up and told us Hifumi had been killed. So Sakura and I left with Makoto. Once we were in the hall, we ran into Celeste, and the four of us headed to the nurse's office. Now, the entire time we were together, none of us said anything about Taka being dead. Think about it. Celeste's comment doesn't make sense. It was completely out of place.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Although I don't really get what it means.
You hear that, Celeste? Everyone's having some trouble understanding. Could you repeat what you said? If you're really not the culprit, you shouldn't have any problem repeating it, right?
I said that Celeste's comment doesn't make sense. But what is he alluding to? Weil...
All I said was, they must really be enjoying this. Enjoying the sight of us standing around, frightened and confused. They must be positively elated. We are all going to die here. We are going to die, just like those guys died. Shoot!
Ja, ich schau's mal zum Ende.
All I said, they must really enjoying the sight of us standing around, frightened and they must be. We are all going to die. We are going to die, just like those guys died. And that is all I said.
And that's all it takes to finish this. It's obvious. What was so strange about Celeste's comment?
Ah, okay, ich weiß, was die uns machen wollen.
All I said, they must really enjoying the sight of us. They must be. We are all going to. We are going to die, just like those guys died. And
Those guys.
That's all I said.
And that's all it takes to finish.
Oh, ich hab's verstanden.
It's obvious, isn't it? What was so strange about Celeste's comment?
Okay, andersrum.
All I said, they must really enjoying the sight of us. They must be. We are all going to. We are going to die. And that is all I said.
And that's all it takes. What was so strange about Celeste's comment?
All I said, they must really enjoying the sight of us. They must be. We are all going to. We are going to die. Just.
No, that's wrong. That's right. There's no reason Celeste should have said, just like those guys died. When she said that, none of us had told her Taka was dead.
Exactly. And we didn't run into her until after we were all out in the hall. So there was never any chance for her to have seen his body in the equipment room for herself.
So how did you know, Celeste? How did you know more than one person had been killed? And how did you know they were both guys? Because Kyoko had also disappeared, right? So she could have been dead too.
You all have such vivid imaginations. You know that?
Imaginations?
You claim that I was lying when I told you about the suspicious person I saw. Then what about the picture I took? How do you explain this picture of the costumed villain dragging Hifumi away?
It has to be some kind of setup, right? So let's put the suit on. And then she used the camera's timer to set up the picture.
Have you so quickly forgotten? You are the only one who could have possibly fit into that suit. Plus, I happen to know that this particular camera does not have a timer. In other words, it is an unassailable fact that this is a picture of Hifumi being dragged away. If everything I told you was a lie, how can this picture exist?
Simple. Are we sure that's really a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away?
What could you possibly mean by that?
Surely there are other explanations than the one you've offered up.
No, there is no other explanation.
The other explanations. If it wasn't a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away, the only other is Hifumi is dragging this.
I got it! It's not a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away. I would say it's a picture of Hifumi dragging the suspect away.
That's certainly within the realm of possibility. The one being dragged off in that picture isn't Hifumi, but the person in the robot suit. We've simply been led to believe that it's the other way around. And the strange costume might only exist to lead us astray even farther. If you saw someone wearing something like that in this situation, of course you'd notice and be suspicious.
That's what happened! You put me to sleep and made me out to be the bad guy in all this!
Such a thing is utterly impossible. Hifumi was dragging him away? Ridiculous.
Is it? I don't think it's ridiculous at all.
Then shut your mouth and allow me to educate you.
Celeste thinks she can prove that there is no way Hifumi was the suspect. But is that really possible? Oh no.
You dressed me up in that suit after I passed out! Then you just draped me across Hifumi and had him carry my weight! You tried to make me look like the bad guy!
Like I said, ridiculous. As you can see in the picture, the suspect is standing perfectly upright. If the person inside the suit was unconscious, there's no way they could stand.
Then the fortune-telling idiot is the culprit after all!
No way!
Ja, ich glaube, ich hab's. Ja, es geht wieder darum, dass ich das nicht bücken kann.
Like I said, ridiculous. As you can see in the picture, the suspect is standing perfectly upright. If the person inside the suit was unconscious, there's no way they could stand up straight.
No, it's wrong.
Oh, Celeste, ich hab dich so hart wisst, was ich meine.
No. Even if the person inside the suit were unconscious, they could still stand up like that, because that Robo-Justice suit had a certain characteristic.
That's right! They totally made a mistake when they made it, so it couldn't bend at the waist.
I'm not so sure that was a mistake. I think the suit was designed from the beginning to be used the way it was.
Celeste and Hifumi took the suit they'd specially designed and stuffed Hiro into it. That's how they were able to fake that whole thing. The point of it all was to make us believe whoever was in the suit was to blame.
Well then, I suppose this is checkmate.
Checkmate?
Mein Thumbnail.
Don't make me laugh, you idiot! What do you mean, checkmate?
Celeste?
Clearly, you want to cram me into your little guilty box. Well, there's one little problem.
Have you already forgotten what Hifumi told us as he lay dying?
Hey Hifumi, who was it? Who attacked you? Who tried to kill you? Ja, so Hiro.
When we asked him who had attacked him, his answer was quite clear, was it not? He said, and I quote, Yasuhiro.
In other words, Yasuhiro Hagakure!
Right, but my name isn't really Yasuhiro. It's actually Taro.
Your confusing statements don't make any sense. You're only making things more complicated.
He did say Yasuhiro, but are we sure he was really pointing the finger at Hiro?
What the hell are you talking about? I'll burn you alive!
Kyoko, what do you mean by that?
Think back to how Hifumi used to talk to us. How did he refer to each of us?
Der hat immer den Nachnamen gesagt. Das weiß ich.
That's right. Our last names. He called us all by our last names.
Exactly. I know I heard him say Mr. Naegi more than once, for example. So if Hifumi did mean to say Hiro's name, he would have said his last name, Hagakure.
I'm sure it was just incidental. By chance, his first name. Indecent?
Don't talk.
Random chance. Now isn't that a convenient explanation? No. There's no reason to think he would have said the name any different than normal, but he must have run out of energy before he could say any more.
So Hifumi was trying to tell us the last name of whoever killed him?
But the name he said doesn't apply to anyone here.
Well, no. Hold on. There's one person it could apply
Weil wir von Celeste nicht den Nachnamen wissen?
And that's Celeste. She never actually told us what her real name is.
What did you just say? To think you take your false accusation so far, I don't know whether to laugh or spit! Come on! Enough with your idiotic blather! Yasuhiro is a loser's name! Do I look like a loser to you? Well, do I? What? I think I've earned the right to be a little on edge.
Okay, then fill us in. What's your real name?
Make sure your ear holes are wide open and listen up! My real name is Celestia Ludenberg. Could you please stop making me repeat myself over and over again?
They still won't go, so then I have to do something to make her accept it. Is this moment of truth? Nein, immer noch nicht. The handbook?
Hifumi was trying to tell us something. He wanted us to know the killer's last name.
If there's one person here who might have that last name,
It would have to be you, Celeste. You haven't told anyone what your real name is.
how many times do I have to tell you? My name is... Celestia Ludenberg! God damn it!
How long do you plan to go on pretending?
I'm not pretending. It's the truth. And since you have no way to contradict it,
No, it's wrong. That's it. The handbook.
what?
Anytime you turn your handbook on, it shows the owner's name when it boots up, right? Monokuma told us all about it before.
The handbook is absolutely vital to a healthy school life, so don't lose it when you start over.
So all we have to do is check her handbook, and that'll clear up everything. That's how we can find out Celeste's real name.
That's an invasion of privacy. I refuse to cooperate.
Celeste, can you please just tell us what really happened? Please, just tell us.
Even when I'm put in check, it's just my nature not to give up. Because until the game's over, you never know what might happen.
Fine then. Let me settle it. Let me go over the case again, from the beginning, and shed light on all your crimes. And that'll bring everything to an end.
Okay, jetzt müsst ihr zusammenfassen, ne? Okay. Was sind da für Faces? What the... Ich glaube, warum ist das da drin? Okay, lass mal irgendwie von hinten arbeiten. Ich habe 20 Minuten dafür Zeit. Oh, warum ist der Case so lang? Okay. So. What the fuck? Oh, Nico. Okay. Beste Face EU. Was soll das darstellen? Okay. Angeblich mit Justice Hammer 4. Angeblich mit... No, Moment, Justice Hammer 4 war doch... Angeblich mit Justice Hammer... Also angegriffen wurde er mit Justice Hammer 2. Dann haben wir ihn da reingesteckt und das Foto gemacht. Um 1 Uhr. So, die haben das quasi alles geplant. Und okay, das verstehe ich nicht so ganz. Dann um 1 Uhr haben die den fertig gemacht. Um 6 Uhr sollte Tucker dahin. Er hat ihn mit Justice Hammer 4 gekillt. Dann wurde... Ah, hier ist es. So. Okay, das ergibt alles ziemlich viel Sinn. Schon mal. Die Bilder sind super, finde ich. Okay, jetzt muss ich nur gucken. Okay, das soll quasi sein, dass die Hand schütteln.
Here's exactly what happened. Before anything, the killer persuaded someone to help carry out the murder.
Oh.
Hifumi. With an accomplice, the killer was able to execute a number of otherwise impossible schemes. First, they convinced someone to meet them in the rec room last night at 1 in the morning. That someone they met with was Hiro. The murderous duo intended to pass Hiro off as the prime suspect. So
Oops, sorry.
they drugged him, knocked him out, and stuffed him into the Robo-Justice suit.
I'm out of coffee. Zeit für Kakao.
Hifumi positioned himself to make it look like
Ich habe keinen
Robo-Justice was
Löffel.
attacking him. While the killer used a digital camera to take pictures of the assault. They did all this just to create evidence that would put the suspicion on Hiro. When they were done
Ich
with
habe noch ein
it,
bisschen
they
Paprika
shoved him,
hier.
still unconscious, into the pool room locker.
Daneben nur Milch.
And then finally, at 6 a.m., they moved into the murder phase of their plan. They called Taka to the equipment room. And that's where Hifumi killed him, making it the scene of the first murder. The murder weapon was Justice Hammer 4, which was left there in the equipment room. The reason Hammer number 4 was used was to create confusion about the order of the crimes. So, next they falsified 2 more assault incidents. For these attacks, the killers pretended to be the victims, to solidify Robo-Justice as the suspect.
Ich dachte gerade zuerst, warum ist oben rechts, warum bin ich das? Aber die zeigen das quasi.
There, the killers wanted us to see Justice Hammer 1 and the Robo-Justice pictures they'd taken. They wanted to make sure we bought the surprise attack story. The second fake incident was the attack in the library. This time, they planted Justice Hammer 2 and an injured Hifumi. With these 2 incidents, the killers were able to create a certain preconception in our minds that the suspect was increasing the size of the hammers and attacking people in order as they did. We fell right into their trap and started looking for the suspect based on that. But while we did that, we left Hifumi alone in the nurse's office. This was exactly what Hifumi was hoping for. He took a blood packet from the refrigerator and Justice Hammer 3 and turned the room into a crime scene, in which he himself had apparently been brutally murdered. He let out a scream to draw us back, and when we returned, that's what we found. Meanwhile, the other group that had been out searching found Taka's body at the same time. So when we heard the body discovery announcement, we naturally assumed it was for Hifumi. We left the nurse's office, and Hifumi once again took advantage of the situation. He simply got up and made his escape. When we learned his body had disappeared, we all rushed back to the nurse's office. And once again, Hifumi had the chance he was waiting for. This time, he snuck into the equipment room. He wrapped Taka's body in a tarp and used the dolly to move it all the way down to the repository. That explains how each of the bodies disappeared. But
Adept.
didn't know what the true killer had in mind for their final act. Their plan all along was to kill Hifumi and get rid of the one person who could betray them. And they did it using an ordinary, everyday hammer from the repository. That should cover everything that happened in this case. And the villain behind it all is...
Das andere wird mein Thumbnail. Lol. Was ist das denn?
Sorry, you lose.
I lost? When was the last time I was forced to utter such words? They hang heavy around my neck.
Then you admit it? You're the killer?
Listen to you, trying to take charge, as if you're my private instructor. I, Celestia Ludenberg. Actually, no. Taiko Yasuhiro is fine.
Taiko?
So, you finally accepted it.
I'm the kind of person, once I've lost, I don't like things to drag on.
Interesting.
Lol. Oh yeah. Nice.
Okay, Monokuma.
Hinrichtung.
I'm ready to begin.
Lol.
Or, no, I suppose this is the end, isn't it?
It is indeed the moment we've all been waiting for. Time to vote. Okay? Okay. If you would, please locate your lever and cast your vote. And when the votes are tallied, Who will become the Blackened? Will you make the right choice or the dreadfully wrong one? What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be?
It's basically a formality at this point, but once again, you are totally correct. The Black End this time, the true killer who devised the whole stinking scheme was Celeste Ludenberg, or more precisely Taeko Yasuhiro.
Honestly.
I lost, well that sucks. I guess trying to work with someone else was a mistake after all. Hifumi's ineptitude was beyond all my calculations.
I knew it.
So you really did approach Hifumi with this plan? But how did you get him to agree? I can't imagine he would have happily agreed to commit murder. I'm sure she relied on her specialty line. My specialty? Don't make me laugh. I didn't have to lie to get him to agree.
So then,
Then did you use, you know? I knew you would figure it out, Kyoko. Ja, sie hat... Warum wird's so dunkel hier? Weil es Abend wird. Ich sitze hier schon den ganzen Tag. Genau, es geht um Alter Ego. I was absolutely right. To get to interact as my compliance, I used her. For everyone who's still left, I will avoid mentioning it by name, but it was the one thing Mifumi and Taka were both super into. Does she mean... She's talking about Alter Ego, yes. What are you talking about?
just a second.
Don't interrupt. We're into the middle of a very important conversation here. I'm totally out of the loop, as usual. How sad.
In other words,
Then you are the one that stole it?
Indeed.
That's right.
I see.
And you used it to drag Hifumi into the plan you would come with it. Right again. Last night, after we had our meeting about how it disappeared, I paid Hifumi a little visit. What are you doing here?
Actually,
I was hoping I could talk to you, alone. It is about what was stolen. I know who did it.
what? Are you okay
It was
with
Taka, he
this?
stole it.
So
And I have
then,
proof, would you like to see it? As it turned out, I found a use for the digital camera. I take, you know what, to Taka's room earlier and took pictures of it there. I deleted the picture as soon as I shown it to Hifumi, of course.
Damnation!
So it was him, but how did he do it? He was supposed to yell if either of us got close to her. You're correct, which is why Taka forced me to steal it.
Say what?
as for me,
Please forgive me, he threatened me. He did?
as for me,
He came to my room last night and unannounced, and then it's hard for me to even say he abused me. And he took pictures. He said if I didn't do it as he asked, he would show them to everyone. So I had no choice.
Damnation!
I mean, no, I'm a little crazy, but oof. It was amazing how completely he bought it. I can't express how enjoyable that was. I'm about to say something I've never said in my life. I'm going to kill him.
Unforgivable!
I'm going to kill him.
Most
Wait,
unfortunate.
please. If you go now, you will be playing right into his hands.
Actually,
Taka's planning to use her to escape, and has made you his target. Escape? You don't mean Taka's going to try to kill you.
indeed,
And also he can keep her to himself.
Completely unforgivable!
Nicht netter Typ, nicht netter Typ, nicht netter Typ.
honestly,
Can we allow him to continue with these barbaric acts? Absolutely not. How could I? She, I have to save her.
Will save her!
actually,
Then, would you like to join with me? It just so happens I've come up with a plan. I have devised a way to reclaim what he was to and escape the dreadful school. And with that, it is complete. What are you talking about? Oh, nothing. Before me agreed without a second thought. The effect that item had on him was remarkable. The power of love, even a love as twisted as that can still... Yeah.
I see.
I have another question for you. What was that strange costume Hifumi's creation?
indeed,
Yeah, it was a real pain in the butt too. All I'll ask him to do was make something to hide the face in general body size. I had no idea he would make something like that, but it's my fault for picking him in the first place.
But
So why you decided to make me the suspect? Because you're stupid. That's it?
Let's see.
In that regard, I made the right choice. I'm so glad your stupidity surpassed my every expectation. Life must have been tough on your parents though. I feel like I could cry. But when you were explaining your plan to Hifumi, how did you explain the part about him playing dead? What she's asking is, what was Hifumi supposed to do after that, assuming you had actually let him live?
Are you okay with
That's
this?
simple. After he did his part and pretended to be dead, once someone showed up, I told him to say he'd been seriously wounded. He was on the verge of death, but he just barely held on. And you really believed that? Well, of course! That wasn't all there was to it. I explained it to Hifumi. The plan was, while you were all questioning him about what had happened to him, I was going to murder someone else. At that point, Hifumi would have an alibi, so nobody could doubt him. I told him that, and he believed it. It all seems very straightforward, stereotypically. I just matched the lie to the level of the opponent. In fact, Hifumi ate it up. He believed the lie wholehearted right up until the moment of his death.
So in the end,
So you had planned to kill him all along. But of course, there would have been no point to my plan if the one who pretended to be dead did not end up dead himself. How can human life mean so little to you? That's a non-issue. I simply did everything in my power to win. Now you sound like Byakuya. No, he derives his pleasure from the thrill of the hunt. In that aspect, we are nothing alike.
Why?
Then, what made you take things this far? Just for money? Are you thinking about the $10 million Monokuma offered us? That is a lot of money, it's true. But that's not all there is to it. From the moment our new life began here, my only thought has been escape. Along been saying how we have to accept living here. Obviously that was a lie. I couldn't take it. I hated it from day one. More than anyone else in here. I wanted to get out. Every day was a fresh torture. And do you wanna why? Because I had a dream. And accepted a life here would have meant nothing less than giving up on my dream forever. And there was no way that I could ever do that. In the underground world of gambling, I risked my life to make a metaphorical killing.
As for me,
And it was all for that dream. And
Isn't
what
it
was
wonderful?
it? To live in a European castle. Together, handsome men from all over the world to serve as my butlers slash bodyguards. I was going to make them dress up like vampires and satisfy me every need. Once I obtained that, I would have created a perfectly aesthetic world of
this is
decadence. Living the rest of my life there was my only dream, my only goal. That's what a life is all about. Combined with my own winning Monokuma's $10 million would have made that dream a reality. I got right off the edge,
There
but
is nothing
unfortunately
to
my dream has been scattered to the wind. Still, I don't have any regrets. I pursued my dream till the very end,
Just the
so why
worst.
would I? You sound so passionate, but you were really able to kill your own friends for it?
Oh,
Are you asking me to feel guilty? That's a pointless endeavor. I think nothing of sacrificing others for my own ends. I feel nothing. That's all there is to me. That's what makes me complete. Isn't terrifying how different our values are? There's simply no room for understanding.
what is this?
That's what we should be saying. And plus, how can you be so calm? Don't you realize you're about to die? Why aren't you scared? My ability to lie is unraveled, and I take pride in that. It's not just other people. I can even fool my own emotions. The conscious deceives the unconscious. And that's why you're not scared?
Yes.
That's right, I don't fear death. Kill me however you like. But you know, if I could be reincarnated, if I had a choice then, I think it would be I would like to come back as Marie Antoinette. This does. We would just get executed again. Celeste smiled then, and when she did, it looked like to me a proper effort to force it. She claimed she could fool her own feelings, but that statement itself, she must have been her final lie. And that weak fake smile is what betrayed her.
chills, kills!
Are you done? Okay then, let's get rolling. The black ant distribute the piece and must pay the price.
I prepared a very special punishment.
For the ultimate gambler.
Let's give it everything we've got. It's punishment time!
Yes! Ich bin gespannt.
Kyoko hold on to this.
I guess I will let Kyoko hold on to this. Was?
What?
Ah ja, okay.
Will it really give you the hope you're looking for? I can't say I ever saw it that way. Which is why, actually, it's not important. Well then, take care everyone. Perhaps we'll meet again. In another life.
Oh yes. Komm schon, komm schon, komm schon. Oh, das wird bestimmt gut. Das wird richtig gut. Uff. Irgendwas mit Gambling? Oh, ein Castle, genau. Oh, das ist aus dem Intro. Alles aus dem Intro wiederholt sich. Sie wird mit irgendwelchen Sachen beworfen. The burning of the... Uff, the witch. Uff. 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 Das war gut, das kann mir gefallen. Das war so random. It's over. The third execution is over. Celeste's death is over. Celeste killed my friend, so I can't pity her. But I also can't deny that at one point I considered her as a friend too. And for him to just come along and... Isn't it awful? Someone couldn't get free of their regrets from the outside world, and so more people had to die. You guys are still young, you need to place more value on your lives.
What are you gonna do?
Jeez, and here I thought you guys were gonna pass the torch of hope to the next generation.
Let me out of here!
Let me in, I will throw it in the trash if you just let me out of here. Okay, alles klar. Irgendwelches Zeugs, was sie labern, so. How long are you going to make us keep going through this? What do you want from us? I'm sick of people asking me that. Give it a rest already. So anyway, Kyoko, did I see you get some kind of key type object from Celeste? So what's the deal with that? What's the matter?
So then,
I will answer your question if you answer mine.
you...
What did you do? What did you do to me? What?
Hey,
Answer me, what did you do to my body?
Ooh, how exciting.
What do you mean, what did I do? I have no idea, I don't know anything about it. What was that just now? The mastermind did something to Kyoko's body. What does that mean? Things are getting kinda awkward, I think it's about time to get out of here. Meanwhile, you guys can go and enjoying your school life. If you get lonely, give me a shout. Not that I will do anything about it, of course.
See ya later.
Montgomery disappeared, leaving us all depressed and despair. Although it wasn't all despair, there was one small hope. Hey Kyoko, Monokuma already mentioned it, but what's that key that Celeste gave you?
so...
Most likely, it's the key to one of the dressing room lockers. Then that means Celeste probably hid it in there. I suppose sometimes it's easiest to miss what's right beneath our nose. Well then, we better go check.
Indeed.
Goody. We left the courtroom and rushed to the dressing room. And as we approached the dressing room, Kyoko looked back at us and said, I'm going to go on alone from here. Everyone else head to the dining hall. I will check in with you later. Why exactly are you going alone? Why do we even have to ask? As she spoke, she glanced quickly at the surveillance camera.
Come on.
That's not what I mean. Why you? There's a still risk of a spy, you know? Then I will go too.
What?
You? Please let me go. Standing here arguing is just going to draw more attention to us. Whatever you want. Thank you, Valkyria. Then it's up to you now. I'm going to go to the dining hall, okay? So Makoto and Kyoko are gonna go together? Does that mean what I think it means?
Okay.
Good luck, Makoto. Girls like her are totally pushovers when you show a little backbone. I tried to forget what Hina said. Everyone headed to the dining hall, leaving me and Kyoko there
Shall
alone.
we go? So then.
Okay, und die nächste Folge wird dann ab 18. Ich bedanke mich ganz herzlich fürs Zusehen, wünsche allen noch einen wunderschönen Tag. Mache jetzt mal gleich ein Lichtchen an und wir sehen uns in der nächsten Episode. Bis dann. Ciao.